In the year 2567, humanity's frontier pushed ever outward into the galaxy, reaching the distant and mineral-rich planet of Viridian 3. This new world, lush and teeming with untapped resources, became a beacon for settlers from Earth seeking fortune and a new start. Unknown to them, their expansion had overlapped with the boundaries of the Valdiri Empire, a civilization known for their strict territorial policies and military might. Captain James Hawke, a veteran of the Earth Defense Forces, led the first group of settlers. His experience in interstellar negotiations and combat made him the ideal leader for establishing a foothold in such a frontier. However, as they began construction of their new colony, named New Terra, they encountered a Valdiri scouting party. The sudden appearance of the alien soldiers, armed and imposing, halted the settlers' activities. The atmosphere was tense, with both groups standing on the brink of conflict. The Valdiri, tall and imposing with shimmering scales, regarded the human settlers with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Their technology was visibly advanced, with weapons that hummed with an otherworldly energy and armor that reflected the sunlight in dazzling patterns. Captain Hawke, aware of the delicate situation, stepped forward to negotiate. His approach was careful, his words chosen with precision to avoid any misinterpretation. "We come in peace," he began, his voice steady. "We did not realize this planet was within your territory. We seek only to coexist and explore mutually beneficial opportunities." The Valdiri commander, General Tharek, listened intently. His expression was unreadable, his eyes cold and calculating. After a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, he responded, "This planet is under Valdiri protection. Your presence here is not welcome, but I will consult with my superiors to discuss your proposal." With that, both parties withdrew, leaving an uneasy peace hanging in the air. Captain Hawke returned to the settlers, his mind racing with possibilities and plans. The encounter had not led to immediate violence, but the threat was clear and present. He immediately sent word back to Earth, detailing the encounter and requesting additional support. The days that followed were filled with anxious preparation. The settlers fortified their position, building defensive structures and monitoring for any signs of Valdiri activity. Captain Hawke organized patrols and prepared contingency plans, knowing that the future of New Terra hung in the balance. Meanwhile, high above the planet, in the dark void of space, the Valdiri fleet amassed. General Tharek, having communicated with his empire's leaders, awaited orders. The tension between the two civilizations grew with each passing day, as both sides prepared for what many felt was an inevitable clash. As Captain Hawke looked out over the colony, watching families work under the shadow of uncertainty, he knew the weight of their survival rested on his shoulders. He had to safeguard these people and ensure that humanity's reach for the stars was not cut short by this first, fateful encounter with the Valdiri. The future of Viridian 3, whether marked by peace or war, would soon unfold. Back on Earth, the news of the encounter with the Valdiri Empire sent ripples through the corridors of power. Humanity had long speculated about the existence of other advanced civilizations in the galaxy, but the reality of facing one so militarily adept was sobering. Captain James Hawke, upon his return, was ushered into emergency sessions with Earth's Global Defense Council to discuss the looming threat. In the dimly lit council chambers, Captain Hawke presented his findings, detailing the Valdiri's advanced technology and the strategic importance of Viridian 3. "We've stumbled upon a hornet's nest," he stated gravely. "The Valdiri aren't just advanced, they're territorial and militaristic. If we're to maintain our presence on Viridian 3, we need to prepare for potential conflict." The council, a body of seasoned military leaders and diplomats, listened intently. After deliberations, they agreed on a two-pronged approach: bolster Earth's defenses and fortify the human settlement on Viridian 3. Resources were allocated, and a fleet of supply ships was prepared, loaded with construction materials for defensive structures and additional personnel to strengthen the colony. Meanwhile, on Viridian 3, the mood among the settlers shifted from initial excitement to cautious vigilance. Captain Hawke, tasked with the defense of the colony, organized the construction of defensive perimeters and training drills for the settlers, turning farmers and miners into makeshift soldiers. The knowledge that the Valdiri could strike at any moment galvanized the community, binding them together in common cause. General Tharek of the Valdiri Empire, observing the humans' activities from his flagship in orbit, grew increasingly concerned about the rapid militarization of the colony. His initial reports to the Valdiri High Command had painted the humans as minor nuisances, not as formidable adversaries. The expanding human fleet and the fortifications being erected on Viridian 3 forced him to reassess his stance. In response, Tharek ordered the construction of a Valdiri forward base on the dark side of Viridian 3. Massive warships, bristling with weapons, descended upon the planet, their presence a clear signal of the Empire's resolve. The Valdiri began their own preparations, conducting drills and deploying advanced defensive systems. The entire system bristled with the tension of impending conflict. As both sides escalated their preparations, spies and scouts were sent to gather intelligence. Captain Hawk relied on a mix of human ingenuity and advanced surveillance technology to keep tabs on Valdiri movements, while the Valdiri used their superior cloaking devices to observe human activities discreetly. In the silent void of space and the rugged landscapes of Viridian 3, an uneasy standoff developed. Each side watched the other, waiting for a spark that would ignite the powder keg of war. Captain Hawk, standing on the walls of the newly erected Fort Resilience, looked out over the alien landscape, aware that each passing day drew them closer to conflict. Yet, he held on to hope that diplomacy might still prevail, preparing his people for war while praying for peace. The uneasy silence of the alien morning was broken by the sudden, thunderous blast of artillery. Captain James Hawk was jolted awake in his command tent at Fort Resilience. As he quickly geared up, the commotion outside grew. Shouts filled the air, mingling with the whine of incoming projectiles. The Valdiri had made their move. Rushing to the command center, Captain Hawk assessed the situation. The initial reports were chaotic, but clear. A Valdiri scouting party had stumbled upon a group of human engineers near the eastern ridge, mistaking their survey equipment for weapons. The misunderstanding escalated rapidly, and now both sides were exchanging fire. Captain Hawk, understanding the importance of not letting this skirmish spiral into full-scale conflict, issued orders with calm precision. "Hold your positions, return fire but do not advance," he commanded. His voice carried the weight of experience and the burden of command, reinforcing the resolve of his troops. The human defenders, though outnumbered, were well prepared. The fortifications Captain Hawk had insisted on proved their worth, providing crucial cover against the superior Valdiri weaponry. The humans' response was disciplined, their fire accurate and calculated, designed to disable rather than destroy. As the sun climbed higher, the skirmish intensified. The Valdiri, surprised by the humans' resilience and tactical acumen, began to falter. Their initial confidence wavered as each of their maneuvers was effectively countered by the settlers turned soldiers. Captain Hawk's leadership shone through, his presence bolstering the spirits of his troops. In orbit, General Tharek watched the battle unfold through real-time satellite feeds. His initial amusement at the thought of a quick and decisive victory over the humans faded quickly. The ferocity and effectiveness of the human soldiers were unlike anything he had anticipated. "These human soldiers are formidable beasts," he muttered in disbelief, his respect for his adversary growing even as his concern deepened. After hours of continuous engagement, Captain Hawk seized a momentary lull in the fighting to initiate a ceasefire. Risking his own life, he stepped into no man's land, signaling his intentions with a white flag. The Valdiri, curious and cautious, ceased their fire, allowing their commander to meet with Hawk under the wary eyes of both sides. The two commanders, human and Valdiri, stood face to face in the scarred landscape, the remains of the morning's chaos evident all around them. "This conflict was a misunderstanding," Hawk stated, his voice firm yet open to peace. "Let us end this here before more lives are lost unnecessarily." General Tharek, impressed by Hawk's courage and the capabilities of his troops, agreed reluctantly. "Very well, Captain. We will withdraw, but this truce is temporary. My superiors will not be pleased." As the Valdiri retreated, Captain Hawk returned to his command post, his mind already racing with the next steps. He knew this skirmish was just a precursor to a larger conflict. However, the bravery and skill his troops had shown were a testament to their ability to hold their ground. With each side nursing their wounds, the stage was set for the brewing storm that would determine the fate of Viridian 3. In the days following the skirmish, tensions on Viridian 3 escalated dramatically. Anticipating retaliation, Captain James Hawk expedited the fortification of New Haven, the primary human settlement. Meanwhile, General Tharek, smarting from the unexpected resistance, assembled a formidable force, planning a decisive strike that he believed would crush the human spirit and secure the planet for the Valdiri Empire. The early hours of what would become a notorious day in human history were eerily silent. The calm was shattered when the horizon lit up with the glow of Valdiri artillery. The siege of New Haven had begun. The air filled with the roar of cannons and the sharp hiss of energy beams slicing through the morning mist. Captain Hawk, now in the command bunker with his officers, monitored the incoming fire and coordinated the colony's defenses. "Focus on maintaining the perimeter. Use the anti-aircraft guns to keep their flyers at bay," Captain Hawk ordered, his voice a grounding force amid the chaos. The defenders, a mix of military personnel and trained civilians, worked tirelessly, manning barricades, returning fire, and tending to the wounded. Their resolve turned what was supposed to be a quick subjugation into a protracted battle. As days turned into weeks, the Valdiri found themselves mired in a conflict far bloodier and longer than expected. Their initial overconfidence faded as each assault wave was repelled by the gritty determination and clever tactics of the human defenders. Captain Hawk utilized the settlement's layout to his advantage, creating kill zones and traps that halted Valdiri advances and inflicted heavy casualties. General Tharek, observing the stalled progress from his command ship, grew increasingly frustrated. His underestimation of human capabilities had led to a stalemate that was slowly draining his resources and the morale of his troops. The humans' tenacious defense and their ability to adapt and counter the Valdiri tactics confounded him and his officers. Meanwhile, within the besieged New Haven, despite the constant threat of bombardment and the dwindling supplies, the spirit of the human defenders remained unbroken. Captain Hawk's leadership was pivotal. His unwavering calm and strategic acumen became a source of inspiration. Nightly, he walked among the defenders, bolstering their courage and ensuring their needs were met. Under the relentless pressure of the siege, an unexpected development occurred. A small group of Valdiri soldiers, disillusioned by the endless fighting and swayed by the humans' resilience, defected. They sought asylum within New Haven, providing Hawk with valuable intelligence about the enemy's capabilities and plans. Armed with this new knowledge, Captain Hawk devised a bold counter-strategy. In a daring night operation, he deployed a special task force to infiltrate the Valdiri artillery positions. Using stealth and the cover of darkness, the task force successfully sabotaged several artillery units, causing chaos in the Valdiri ranks and significantly reducing the effectiveness of their bombardment. As dawn broke after the night raid, the balance of power had subtly shifted. The human defenders, energized by their successful operation, prepared for the next phase of the siege, knowing that their actions had not only defended their homes, but also demonstrated their resolve to the Valdiri and the watching galaxy. The siege of New Haven, far from breaking the human spirit, had forged it into something even stronger, a testament to their courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. The sabotage of Valdiri artillery marked a turning point in the siege of New Haven. With their bombardment capabilities crippled, the Valdiri forces found themselves on the defensive, reeling from the unexpected ingenuity and daring of the human resistance. Captain James Hawk seized this moment to shift from defense to offense. In the Strategic Command Center, deep within the fortified heart of New Haven, Captain Hawk laid out a bold plan to his officers. "We have inflicted significant damage on their artillery, but we can't stop there. We need to push them back further, disrupt their supply lines, and shake their command structure," he explained, pointing to the holomap displaying troop movements and key Valdiri positions. The plan involved a series of coordinated strikes designed to exploit the weakened state of the Valdiri forces. Captain Hawk organized his troops into mobile strike teams, equipped with the best guerrilla warfare tactics the Earth military had to offer. These teams would target Valdiri supply convoys, communication hubs, and reinforcement routes, aiming to sow confusion and further diminish their operational effectiveness. Simultaneously, Captain Hawk initiated a psychological warfare campaign. Using the defected Valdiri soldiers, he broadcast messages across the planet, highlighting the futility of the Valdiri's aggressive stance and praising the bravery and resilience of the human defenders. These broadcasts, filled with tales of human courage and calls for peace, reached even the Valdiri troops, stirring doubts and lowering morale. As the human strike teams executed their missions with precision, the impact was immediate and profound. Several Valdiri supply convoys were intercepted and captured, providing not only much-needed resources to the human defenders, but also crucial intelligence on Valdiri operations. Communications hubs were disabled, causing disarray within the Valdiri command structure and delaying their response times. Back on his flagship in orbit, General Tharek watched the deterioration of his ground forces with growing dismay. The humans were not only holding their ground, but were actively pushing back, turning his planned quick victory into a protracted nightmare. Frustrated and desperate, he considered calling for reinforcements, but knew that doing so would admit his failure to his superiors and the Valdiri political elite. The situation on Viridian III reached a critical point when a small human team managed a daring raid on the Valdiri temporary command post. This audacious operation resulted in the capture of several high-ranking officers and the acquisition of sensitive data about Valdiri military strategies. With this information, Captain Hawk was able to predict and counter subsequent Valdiri attacks with even greater effectiveness. The echoes of these successes reverberated through human and Valdiri ranks alike. For the humans, each victory served as a morale booster, reinforcing their belief in their cause and their confidence in Captain Hawk's leadership. For the Valdiri, the ongoing losses and the visible effectiveness of human tactics sowed seeds of doubt about the righteousness and probable success of their campaign. As the tide of battle shifted, Captain Hawk knew that the ultimate test was still to come. The Valdiri would either retreat or retaliate with even greater force. Preparing for both scenarios, he strengthened his defenses and planned for the possibility of peace talks, hoping that the Valdiri would choose diplomacy over further bloodshed. The stage was set for either a significant escalation or a movement towards negotiation, with the fate of New Haven hanging in the balance. With the Valdiri forces in disarray and their morale at a low, word of the humans' resolute defense and strategic victories began to spread across the galaxy. This news reached various alien civilizations, some of whom had silently observed the conflict, wary of the expanding Valdiri influence. Intrigued by humanity's resilience and tactical prowess, representatives from these civilizations reached out to Captain James Hawk, expressing their admiration and offering their support. Captain Hawk, recognizing the opportunity to strengthen his position through diplomacy, welcomed these overtures. A secret meeting was convened on a neutral planet, attended by envoys from the Jorax Confederacy, the Teliar Union, and several other minor star nations that had grudges against the Valdiri Empire. In the dimly lit conference room, a new alliance began to take shape, forged in the urgency of mutual defense and shared interests. The discussions were intense and driven by the necessity of forming a united front. Captain Hawk presented a compelling case, detailing the human struggle on Viridian III and outlining the potential threats the Valdiri pose to other free worlds. "Our fight is not just about one colony," he asserted. "It's about preserving our freedom and way of life against an empire that respects neither." The Jorax and Teliar representatives, moved by Hawk's words and the evidence of human valor, agreed to provide tactical support and resources. The newly formed coalition worked swiftly, coordinating supply runs to New Haven and planning joint military operations. This newfound alliance brought fresh supplies, advanced weapons, and volunteer fighters to bolster the human forces. Meanwhile, on Viridian III, the human troops, buoyed by the news of the alliance, prepared for the next phase of the conflict. They trained alongside their new alien allies, exchanging knowledge and tactics that enriched both sides. This interstellar cooperation quickly turned into a deep bond forged in the fires of shared combat and common goals. As the coalition's strength grew, so did their actions in the conflict. They launched a series of coordinated strikes against Valdiri positions on Viridian III and other key locations, further undermining the Valdiri's operational capabilities. These strikes were not only military but also symbolic, demonstrating the power of unity against a common enemy. General Tharek, now fully aware of the broadening scope of the conflict, faced increasing pressure. The Valdiri High Command, alarmed by the growing alliance against them, questioned his strategies and the wisdom of continuing the war. Tharek, however, driven by pride and the fear of defeat, prepared for a final, all-out assault to crush the human resistance once and for all. Back on Earth and across Allied territories, news of the forming alliance and their successes sparked a wave of support for the coalition forces. Fundraisers and rallies were held, with civilians across different worlds contributing to the war effort, sending supplies, and enlisting to fight. The spirit of solidarity extended beyond military contributions, fostering a cultural exchange and understanding that reshaped public perception of the conflict. As Captain Hawk reviewed the plans for the defense of New Haven against the anticipated Valdiri onslaught, he felt a profound sense of responsibility not just to his troops, but to his new allies. Together, they had transformed a desperate stand into a galactic movement, proving that even in the darkest times, unity could ignite a powerful beacon of hope. The final battle for Viridian 3 was imminent. Captain James Hawk and his coalition forces, now significantly bolstered by their alliances, stood ready to face the Valdiri in what would be the decisive confrontation of the conflict. The air was thick with anticipation, as both sides understood that the outcome of this battle would not only determine the fate of Viridian 3, but potentially shift the power dynamics within the galaxy. General Tharek, pressured by the Valdiri High Command to deliver a swift victory, amassed his remaining forces for a full-scale assault. His strategy was to overwhelm the human-led coalition with sheer numbers and superior firepower, believing that a quick and brutal push could shatter the alliance before it could fully consolidate its strength. As the Valdiri forces began their advance, a tense calm settled over Captain Hawk's command center. The screens lit up with real-time satellite imagery, showing the movement of Valdiri troops converging on their positions. Hawk issued his commands with precision, directing his forces to hold their fire until the Valdiri were within optimal range. "Let them think they have the upper hand," he told his officers, his voice steady despite the stakes. The first wave of Valdiri attackers crashed against the fortified positions of the coalition with ferocious intensity. However, the defenders were prepared. Utilizing the advanced weaponry and tactical insights provided by their alien allies, Hawk's forces managed to repel the initial assault, inflicting heavy casualties on the Valdiri. Emboldened by their successful defense, the coalition launched a counteroffensive. Special units, comprised of both human and alien troops, executed flanking maneuvers that exploited gaps in the Valdiri lines, previously identified by the defected Valdiri soldiers. These units, using guerrilla tactics, managed to sow chaos in the Valdiri rear, further disrupting their ability to maintain a cohesive front. As the battle raged, the effectiveness of the coalition's joint command structure became apparent. Communications were seamless, and the diverse strengths of each species within the alliance complemented each other, creating a dynamic and adaptable fighting force. The Valdiri, in contrast, struggled to adapt to the evolving tactics of their opponents, their command structure too rigid to cope with the innovative strategies employed by Hawk's coalition. In the heat of battle, a significant turning point occurred when a squad of human and Jorax soldiers captured a key Valdiri command post. Seizing control of the post not only provided them with critical strategic data, but also allowed them to disrupt Valdiri communications, further compounding the confusion and disarray within their ranks. Realizing the tide had turned, General Tharek faced a dire choice. With his forces crumbling and the prospect of a humiliating defeat looming, he opted for a strategic retreat, hoping to preserve what remained of his troops for a possible regrouping. The retreat quickly became disorganized, however, as the coalition forces pressed their advantage, eager to secure a definitive victory. As the last of the Valdiri forces were pushed off Viridian 3, celebrations broke out among the coalition troops. The victory was not just a military triumph, but a validation of their unity and strength in diversity. Captain Hawk, witnessing the jubilation of his troops, felt a profound sense of accomplishment and relief. His leadership had not only saved a world, but it also helped forge a powerful alliance that might change the course of galactic history. In the aftermath of the battle, the coalition worked to secure the planet and begin the process of rebuilding. The victory at Viridian 3 would go down in history as a pivotal moment when disparate peoples united against a common foe, turning the tide not through overwhelming force, but through mutual respect, strategic ingenuity, and unshakable solidarity. With the Valdiri forces in retreat and Viridian 3 secured, a profound sense of accomplishment swept through Captain James Hawk and the coalition troops. The hard-won victory was not just a testament to their military prowess, but also to the strength of their unity and cooperation. The atmosphere was charged with relief and newfound respect among the diverse species that had fought side by side. In the days following the Valdiri withdrawal, Captain Hawk was pivotal in transitioning from a war footing to setting the stage for lasting peace. Recognizing the importance of stability and the need to avoid future conflicts, he initiated talks with the Valdiri leaders, including the humbled General Tharek, and representatives from the newly allied civilizations. The peace negotiations were held on a neutral space station orbiting the serene planet of Paxis Fef. The Roundtable was a mosaic of the galaxy's diversity, with each species bringing their unique perspectives to forge a comprehensive and enduring peace treaty. The discussions were intense, often challenging, but driven by a mutual desire to prevent further bloodshed. Under Captain Hawk's guidance, The treaty outlined terms for disarmament, the establishment of a multi-species oversight council, and the allocation of Viridian III's resources in a way that benefited all parties involved. Importantly, it also included provisions for the Valdiri to partake in joint exploration and economic ventures, not just with humans, but with all members of the coalition. This inclusivity marked a new approach to galactic diplomacy, predicated on shared benefits and mutual development. The signing of the treaty was a momentous occasion, broadcast across the galaxy as a beacon of hope. The image of former adversaries signing the same document under the watchful eyes of their one-time enemies offered a powerful symbol of reconciliation and cooperation. Back on Viridian III, the reconstruction began with a sense of optimism. Cities were rebuilt with both human and alien architecture, creating vibrant communities where diverse cultures intermingled. The planet quickly became a symbol of what could be achieved when different species worked together toward a common goal. Captain Hawk, now appointed as the governor of Viridian III, focused on integrating the various technological and cultural strengths of the coalition members to foster a model society. Educational programs, cultural exchanges, and economic policies were developed to ensure that all inhabitants had opportunities to contribute and thrive. Moreover, the successful defense of Viridian III and the subsequent peace treaty galvanized other regions of the galaxy. Inspired by the example set by the coalition, other planets began to seek diplomatic solutions to their conflicts, leading to a period of widespread peace and cooperation. As years passed, Captain Hawk watched as the children of Viridian III, human and alien alike, grew up in a world vastly different from the one he had known. They were the first generation of a new era, one not defined by the shadows of war, but illuminated by the light of peace and unity. Reflecting on his journey, Captain Hawk realized that the true victory was not just the battle won or the treaty signed, but the enduring legacy of hope and cooperation that would define the future of the galaxy. The challenges were many, but the potential for a better future made every effort worthwhile. In this new era, humanity and its allies stood ready to face whatever challenges might come, not as separate entities, but as united peoples of the galaxy.